Sam, and I'm making this video to give a bit of an overview of the astrology houses and the series that I just did on the astrology houses. A lot of people really got a lot from that. You know, this is the way I teach the astrology houses. It's how I teach in my certification course and in all of my in-depth courses. This progress of one thing to the next is very important. This idea that everything is a continuum, that the zodiac itself, when you're talking about the zodiac signs, is a continuum. It's not just that Aries is one sign. Aries is the place where Mercury rules the 3rd and 6th house, Jupiter rules the 9th and 12th house, Venus rules the 2nd and 7th house. And this matrix and this holistic approach to astrology is really the core of that deeper mystical connection, whether it's houses and how one house leads to the next, or signs, how one sign, you know, first of all, what the signs actually are. It's one point in space in relation to all the others, and the governing principle behind the signs are the planets that rule them. So those planets as house rulers become foundational to even what the zodiac is. So looking deeper than just that surface and looking for the holistic connections is really the key to my approach. And I would encourage you to always be looking for the deeper connections, no matter what it is that you're doing. So in this video, I'm actually going to talk about a few of those, a few ways to kind of organize the houses beyond what I said in the videos. And of course, one of the main ways is what I had said with each video, you know, with each house video, which is, you know, the second house is not just a house, it's the culminating point of the first and the origin point of the third, etc., etc. So this idea of one thing leading to the next is extremely important. So first of all, to just do that very succinctly, I'll show you. The first house is, of course, our identity in this lifetime, because it's the moment we were placed on the wheel of time. It's from the ascendant, it's the moment you were born. But that's actually the culminating point of your recent past lives and your in-between life state and all of that stuff from the 12th house. 12th house leads to the first, which also includes in utero and all of that past karma. 12th house leads to the first. Your birth was preceded by all of the karma from the past. Then your truthful identity, who you are, your actions through the physical body leads to, or first of all, the fact that you have a physical body, that you didn't incarnate on the etheric realm, but in the physical world with the physical body in the first house, means that the second house is where you need to feed that body, care for that body. That body was raised in an environment of a family that had values, and there was a comfort zone and a structure around it, which is the second house. Then that second house of values and structure leads to interactions, and it's a place to nurture your individual ego, your individual desires. In the third house, interests, people you explore those interests with, people you compete with for those interests. We first learn that, again, we can go back to the childhood, we first learn that with our siblings. If we don't have siblings, then we learn it with our peers, but that's the third house, those people that you're in competition with. Right? In the third house, it's you and your sibling in competition for your parents' approval and all of that stuff. But then it's also where we rebel against those initial values of our childhood, and we create a family in the second house that's of our own choosing and that's congruent with our own interests in the third house. Then the fourth house shows how those interests and those friends and all of that excitement of the ego in the third house creates a feeling in the fourth house. Right? We check in about how does all that feel, and things that aren't congruent with our nature get discarded, and those interests that really connect to our heart in the fourth lead to the great inspirations and passions in our life in the fifth. Those things we love the most, our heart's desire, that's the fifth house. And it shows where our interests in the third go through our heart in the fourth, and then lead to great creative gains in the fifth. Or whatever it is in our heart, whatever interests us that we hang on to in our heart, which might not be that great. They might be bad, difficult things. Then they also become our heart's desire, right? Things that are destructive, things that aren't very creative. So the fifth house is what we create based on what's in our heart. And then all that creativity, the things we create, regardless of what they are, we're a creative being, makes for a lot of work. And that work is in the sixth house: effort, sacrifice, duty, and those unpleasant tasks that we need to perform in life based on what we create. So you better create something that you love, because you're going to have the hard work of the sixth house regardless. Life is a lot of showing up and facing the unpleasant tasks without having aversion. So when you're with something that you love, you don't have aversion to the hard work. So that's the sixth house of hard work, which comes from the things we create in the fifth. And the willingness to do that hard work in the sixth house shows our relationships with others in the seventh. And those equal transactional relationships we have with others, whether they're romantic or even career. It's where two individuals have their desires on the line, and they can only fulfill their desires with the other person. So that requires a lot of service, humility to the cause from the sixth, and that leads to the success of the seventh house. But then regardless of whether we're successful or not, we realize these other people, they be crazy. They be cray-cray, as the kids say, right? I can't control these people, all these people. I'm so vulnerable now that I've gotten into this marriage with this person, or this business partnership, or some other thing. I'm very vulnerable. I need to be careful. It could change. They could kill me. They're all going to die anyway. All that eighth house stuff, right? No control. Regardless, we have to get deeply involved with people in order to live in the seventh. But then we also realize how vulnerable we are. And what's really vulnerable is our projections. That's what's really vulnerable. So the seventh house is where we have a lot of attachment, a lot of projections, and we realize all of that is crazy because people deceive us, they don't do what we think, and we realize we have no control in the eighth. That terror of not having any control leads to philosophy. Well, what's the point of all this then? In the ninth house, we look for a higher answer, higher truth beyond just the world of people, the world of others. We look for an answer. Again, it might be a good answer, it might not. It might be some terrible answer, something that confirms all the bad teaching we had when we were kids. You know, it might be something that's not a good philosophy at all. But we look for an answer in the ninth house, some philosophy, a teacher, teachings to guide us to something beyond. Then we want to really have those philosophies impact the world. We want our life, and and in fact, whether we want it or not, our principles and our beliefs are impacting the world in the 10th house. That's where our greatest impact comes, whether it's in our career or not. It's basically our philosophies and principles are impacting the world. They have an impact in your life. Even if it's just being a good religious person and going to church or doing the things of the religion, even if you go to work and do other things, your principles and values in the 9th house show your greatest impact in the 10th. And then your capacity to impact in the 10th shows the ambitions that you have. Let's say that you're a good, churchgoer and you impact the world through that. Then once you realize that you have impact in that way, in your mind you're like, oh, I could do this great stuff in the 11th house. Think of, boy, we could change the world. And we start getting a lot of, this desire to save the world. In the highest sense is the 11th house, but it's also just the kind of mundane competition that we have with others when we're not really connected to higher principles in the 9th house. Then the power we get in the 10th house is also not really connected to something that inspires us, and therefore then our ambitions are out of whack and they're just about trying to succeed and win and not really learn anything. And so then when we experience the losses of the 12th house, which comes after the gains of the 11th, then we wind up completely lost. And this is the way most people are, or some version of this, that liberation and loss of the 12th house is really just a referendum on our tragedy, of our tragic ego and our tragic misunderstanding of what life is. You mean I did all of this? I went through all of this and I won and I did what the world tells me I succeeded and I lost it all, or none of it matters, or I just feel empty. Oh my God, that's terrible. I think I'll just sit here and watch TV. I think I'll go out and get drunk. I think I'll just escape from all that because I don't know what that's about. So you want to understand that in each, this is also this evolution, or let me just finish with the 12th house then of letting go and realizing this chasm of, wow, all of that ambition and it meant nothing. It's a referendum on us to then have a rebirth in the first house again, right? The gains of the 11th house lead to the losses in the 12th, which leads to us reevaluating, well, who am I then? What is all of this? I'm not, even if I save the world, I'm still, I don't know the nature of self. So ultimately, in a normal sense, that's how we experience the losses of the 12th. They precede the first house. And again, like I said in the 12th house video, every night we return to that place of regeneration, but we become unconscious. Making the unconscious conscious is the work of the 12th house, and it's the work of our life to bring those things from the, you know, from beyond the trembling veil and the shadows into the conscious realm, so that we know ourself in full awareness rather than through the limitations of worldly action and disappointment, which is the 11th house, is really the house of disappointment in a spiritual sense. So again, you often hear your 11th house, oh, it's achievement, accomplishment, but it's actually the place of disappointment where all of that ambition eventually disappoints us. We don't feel the disappointment in the 11th, we feel it in the 12th, and then we want to escape from it because we don't understand the light. We don't understand the nature of reality when we thought, oh, this is what I wanted, we get it, and it's not what we thought. So then we start over again in the first house. So the thing to understand is that this evolution of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, first house, second house, third house, fourth house, repeats 3 times, like I said. Houses 1 through 4 is our individual knowledge. It's about self-knowledge. My truthful identity, my values, my interests, and how they feel to me. And they actually go forward and back as I evolve personally. My true self, values, interests, and feelings. Then, as I'm getting to know myself, I have to run, all of that lands in my heart in the place of moksha, and if it doesn't feel congruent, then it backs up. It goes from 4th house. When the 4th house feelings aren't good, then the 3rd house interests change. That changes the 2nd house values. That changes the 1st house of me and my actions and my presence. So there's a cycle of evolution through houses 1 through 4. Then we take whatever level we're at individually through houses 1 through 4, and then we bring that into the relationship with other people in houses 5 through 8. So there's one level of evolution through houses 1 through 4. Wherever we're at on that scale, we bring our relationship with others in houses 5 through 8. 5th house is our true relationship with others, which is we're all children of God, and we want everyone to love us, and we want to love everyone. Everyone is our heart's desire. In truth, that's what we want. In truth, we only understand that I love everything and I want everything to love me. It's only the ego that gets into struggle. So the way we're meant to deal with each other is 5th house. But then we have to work hard and sacrifice and lower our own arrogance in the 6th, be more humble and be willing to do the hard work. Then we get that engagement with the 7th house and fulfilling our desires with the other person. And then we realize that that's not it either, and all of our illusions are shattered around others in the 8th house. So again, houses 5 through 8, our heart's desire, the things we love the most, all of our romance about life and people, which is 5th house. We tend to tie that up in a child, but it's also with, with romantic partners. Ooh, my baby, ooh, I'm so inspired, right? But then we need to serve that, and that takes work and effort. If we're able to do that, then that thing becomes a stable structure in our life in the 7th house, but then we need to let go of it in the 8th house anyway. And this is another self-corrective evolutionary process in life. We can understand our evolving relationships with other people by understanding this evolution of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha through houses 5 through 8. That's our evolving relationship with others, right? There's self, there's others, And then houses 9 through 12 is our evolving relationship with the cosmos and our cosmic self beyond just this lifetime. It starts with, again, taking that tragedy and chasm of the 8th house and looking for more inspiration and purpose. Now we're looking for things that are above me as person and my relationships with other people on earth, and now I'm looking for a greater answer, a higher purpose beyond just this, which is 9th house. It's the Dharma of that universal section of the sky. That's the 9th house. The true teachings that are going to help us aspire. And then based on those true teachings, we see our impact in the world in the 10th house, the value, and the values that impact the world in the highest. And then that leads to our highest ambitions, and that leads to the deepest losses and the capacity to let go. And again, you want to understand that the first house in each of those triplicities, the triplicity of the self, houses 1 through 4, the triplicity of others, houses 5 through 8, and the triplicity of the universal, houses 9 through 12, the integrity of each one of those cycles is the Dharma house. This is what Dharma is, right? If you don't know yourself, your true self in the first house first, then your values are going to be messed up. Your interests are going to be out of alignment, and it's going to feel all crappy. This is why Dharma is first. They proceed in this order. Dharma, truth, leads to the value that we get from the truth. Just like when we go to the 9th house, if your teachings are all wacky and they're out of alignment, then your commitment and your duties and the value that you give based on those teachings in the 10th are going to be out of whack. Then your ambitions based on the power you have is going to be out of whack. Then the loss and the need for rejuvenation and to connect to a higher source, once you realize that this ain't it, is also going to be filled with confusion. When your teachings are correct, I mean, let's use someone who's, let's say, like a religious person, like literally like a traditional religious person. What does all religion tells you? You know, what do they all say? That, you know, we're all child of God in one way or another, whether it's Jesus or Allah or Buddha or Krishna. It's not just about this earth. So if that's really in our bones and that's really our teaching and it's authentic and truthful to us, then we're going to want to impact, and everywhere we go, our impact is going to reflect that. And our ambitions are going to reflect that. It's going to be towards something higher, and when we're just stuck in our ego, there will be a cognitive dissonance between what our spiritual teachers tell us and the things we believe and our ambitions. Dharma always wins over Kama, especially when Dharma is correct. When Dharma is correct, Kama and our desires, they might derail us for a while, but we correct ourselves. And so when our ambitions get out of alignment and we have proper Dharma, once we lose and our ambitions fail in the 12th, we have an answer. We have a good answer. Okay, well, what did I think I was going to live forever? What? This is the loss. This is the Jesus on the cross. This is, you know, all of the trials and tribulations of life. And we have perspective. So we have these 3 sections of the zodiac through the houses and 3 processes of evolution through the individual, houses 1 through 4, others, house 5 through 8, and with the cosmos, house 9 through 12. They're individual self-correcting evolutionary processes, and they're, of course, they're also connected with each other. We take our self-evolution of houses 1 through 4 into our relationships with others in houses 5 through 8. Then we take how realistic and reasonable we are in relation to other people and how well we've made peace with other people and all the bad stuff they've done to us and all that into the houses 9 through 12. Again, when we're still stuck on some worldly injustice that comes from other people or whatever, that's when we gravitate toward bad teachings. Like I used the example before, you know, it's also a teaching, you know, there's a teaching that, you know, all the Jews are bad, or this kind of bad thing that marginalizes other groups, or again, if we haven't made peace with people and the world and all the injustices, then we're going to gravitate toward a teaching and a philosophy that affirms that dark worldview in the 9th house, and then again that dark worldview in the 9th house leads to certain actions in the 10th, out of alignment ambitions that lead to disappointment and all the confusion. So it's very important to understand this evolution of consciousness through Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and the astrology houses. Again, you know, like in my certification course, I go through each one of these houses, in fact, has an evolutionary process in itself. Like we evolve, you know, the second house, you know, values from literally like our money and our food and the things that show the values, to something that's more psychological and emotional, like with our friends as well, like with the people we have around us, to something that's very high and worthy, such as, you know, those higher, you know, cosmic values, where the highest, you know, measure of what we have to give is not, or, you know, what we want to take is not just monetary or personal, but it's something more, you know, spiritual. So this is also what I call, it's basically something that I call principle stacking as well, where you take 2 or 3 really powerful principles and you stack them, and then you see that it just leads to enormous depth. So again, you know, when you see a lot of teachings and a lot of, you know, videos and stuff that kind of jump around a whole lot of things, like, oh, do this complicated thing, it's like all that's wonderful, but there is so much depth in just understanding the real power of these Vedic concepts and how they come and how they filter down through astrology. So I have some more videos like this that I'm going to be doing, not just on houses, but also on the signs, on the zodiac signs, and this matrix approach to the zodiac. So look out for that as well. And share this if you like this video.